Hi everybody, welcome to Fermented Sauerkraut and basically Fermenting 101. Mason Top sent me their complete fermentation kit because they know how much I love to ferment, and trust me, I never have enough of my weights or pickle pipes, so I was really grateful for it. And it kind of spurred me to start Fermentation Friday, and we're just going to start this Friday off with the basics and the sauerkraut. You just want kind of a medium to a smaller head of cabbage. A 2 pound cabbage is usually a great place to start. Those two outer leaves, we're just going to throw those away. So I just cut off my end. I'm going to take a nice big leaf off of here or two. I want to save those, set it aside. And then I want to cut this as thin as possible. The thinner that you can cut it, you can use your mandolin or your knife. The more brine you're going to make, and the better your end product will be. Now, when you create lacto-fermented vegetables, which is what we're doing, you create lactic acid that your body just loves. This is good for your gut health, for your gut flora. This helps with anti-inflammation. This helps your body absorb nutrients better. It improves digestion. You get, from this sauerkraut alone, you get vitamins K2 and C and B and magnesium and manganese and potassium and iron. I mean, honestly, if you just eat a quarter cup of fermented vegetables every day, then that's all the probiotics that your body needs. And you no longer have to buy probiotics. Now cut this as thin as you can. I like it really thin. And I'm going to weigh mine. I prefer to weigh mine for the most accurate weight, so I know exactly how much salt to use. You do not have to, and I'll tell you what to do. But these little scales, they don't really cost much of anything. So I'm going to, as I cut mine, put them in the bowl and weigh them. And then whatever they weigh, I will times that 0.02, and that'll give me how much salt that I need to use. If you don't have a scale, just weigh the cabbage at the store before you buy it, and then go about 1 tablespoon of fine sea salt per pound of cabbage, and that should do you just fine. Now, when we start talking about our ferments and we start talking about salts, you need a salt that is pure. It can't have any kind of additives, caking agents, iodines. It can't have anything like that. You want a salt that's just pure salt. Now, for me, that's my Redlands Real. And this is a salt that I know. This is what I use for my ferments. And I know where it comes from. I know the mine that it comes from. Just because you go by something that says pink Himalayan sea salt, you don't know what mine that came from. You don't know what their mining practices are like. And some of those have high levels of cadmium and arsenic in them. So it matters the kind of salt you use. You can ferment with kosher salt, but don't use one that has any kind of additives like Morton's does. So for me, for my kosher salt, I use the Diamond. Again, I know what mine it came from, and I know that it's pure without anything. So my cabbage weighs 870 grams. So if I say 870 times 0.02, then I need 17.4 grams of my salt. So I'm just going to go ahead and do like 18 grams of salt. And that way I know that I have enough. And if you go over a little bit, it's better than going under and your brine not being at 2%. Now at this point, I like to just get in here with my hands and massage my cabbage. Now I'm going to do this for 5 to 10 minutes. I really want to start breaking that cabbage up, and that salt's going to start helping to release it of its moisture, and that is going to create the brine that we need. That is really the most important thing of your ferment. All right, so this is what 5 minutes of massaging has got me, and you can see how much it's shrank. Can you see how wet and glistening it is? And can you see how much brine we've already created. Now, a lot of people will stop right here and pack their jars. I don't. I like to use a method called sweating, because if I can sweat this, I'm going to get even more brine, and then I'm going to be assured that my cabbage is completely covered by the brine. So I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to set it aside for 15 minutes. So 15 minutes are up, and I'm back, and I've got my kraut pounder, and I'm going to pound this for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then I'm going to set my timer for another 15 minutes. I'm going to set it aside again and let it sweat for another 15 minutes, and then we'll come back. All right, and we're back. Now I am going to go ahead and pound this for another 3 to 4 minutes and just kind of evaluate if I think I'm making enough brine. This looks pretty good, so I think we're going to be fine to go ahead and put it in the jar. Now, some add-ons you can do. Personally, I like caraway in my sauerkraut. This is all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. And I usually do about a teaspoon of caraway seeds per pound of cabbage. So I'm just going to do a little bit at a time when you start packing it in your jar. And this is where your kraut pounder really comes in handy. I think Mason Top's kraut pounders are very pretty. Now, can you see that brine starting to push up? So you want to push it. You want to push all the air out and just push it down as hard as you can. And we're just going to keep doing a little bit at a time, adding a little and pushing it down. Now, as we start getting close to the top, I find that about a 1.5 to 2 pound cabbage is perfect for a quart jar. If your cabbage is more, you don't want to take this all the way to the top, because you want to make sure everything stays under that brine. And you also don't want your brine to come all the way to the top, because your ferment will rise with the tides. So the liquid in there will go up and down, so it can bubble over if you put it too far up. So we are just about as far as I feel comfortable doing. So now we're going to use the cabbage leaf that we saved, and we're going to put that on top. And I like to make sure it's pushed up to the sides. And this is just becoming a protective barrier between the air and my ferment. And it just helps ensure that my kraut stays under that brine. And then I'm going in with my Mason Top pickling weight, and I'm going to put that right inside that cabbage. And then I'm just going to push down. So I think it looks perfect. Now, you've got to cover this. You can do this simply with some cloth and a rubber band. There are different kinds of airlocks out there, and just a whole different variety of things you could do. I like the pickle pipes. This one's made Mason Tops, and you see how it has that hole in there. What's important here is that obviously nothing falls in your ferment, but that gases can escape. So look at this. Now we have a beautiful jar of cabbage that we're fermenting and turning into sauerkraut. 5 days to 3 weeks. I can tell you, I always go the 3 weeks. The longer, the better. The more probiotics that's going to develop in here, the richer the flavor is going to develop. I have been as long as 3 months before. So the longer that you can go, the better. The one thing that you do want to keep check on is to make sure that everything stays under that brine. And that's really the biggest thing that you need to worry about. It's going to get cloudy on you. So this is bread and butter pickles I started today. You can see how clear they are. And this is when they're done, and you can see how cloudy they get. Cloudy's perfect. You want cloudy. You're going to see bubbles come up, and that's what you want to see. You might see a little bit of white at the top, especially if it's really hot, and that's kelm yeast, and it's perfectly fine. You just wipe it away. So I hope that you're going to join me on this fermentation journey. Your gut is going to be so happy that you introduced fermented vegetables into your life. Thanks for being here. Mason Tops, thank you for my fermentation kit, and hopefully it's going to help spur some people to get started fermenting. I sure do hope so. I'll see y'all later. Bye.